Mold-Tool is the official sponsor of the Grease and Glamour podcast. Established in 1853, Mold-Tool has grown to become a recognized leader in lubricant technology. Racing teams around the world have trusted Mold-Tool to deliver the endurance and performance needed to compete at the highest level. Even if you're not racing on the track, Mold-Tool's full range of synthetic lubricants will protect your engine against wear and tear of your daily commute. Stop by Universal Imports to purchase Mold-Tool's line of products today.
And if only we really should be using this special sprinkles.
Oh, you should use the sprinkles, yeah.
I can't get the sprinkles right now.
I'll just have to wait it out.
I guess so. Still learning how to use the equipment here. So how's everybody doing today? Today we're joined by Erin Kane. How are you, Erin?
I'm good. How are you?
My sister, Andrea Montanti Fierbacher. How are you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
And a very special guest all the way from our shop, about 35 feet away from this office, is one of our master technicians, Jody Craig. How you doing, Jody?
Good. How you doing, Mark?
Good. We thought we'd have Jody on to keep us honest with our technical knowledge if we ever get to that, because we kind of goof around a little bit on this show.
Just a little.
So it was funny, sometimes we'll have these conversations and they'll just sort of randomly happen, and we're like, oh, we should stop talking and save this for the podcast. And one of the things that came up was we were talking about, and I don't know exactly how it came up. I think it came up in my brain at some point, but remember the Happy Days episode where the Fonz, where Potsy actually needed to sing this song to his teacher called Pump Your Blood. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
Yeah, I do.
You remember that, Jody?
Good old days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Erin, did you?
No.
You don't know that one?
No, that was like before my time.
Wasn't.
What
Like,
are you
stuff
saying,
we
Erin?
talk about.
What are you saying?
I didn't mean it like that.
But, the song was, this is the song. I have it right here. Doesn't ring a bell, Erin?
Nope. Now it does because it's in my head all day.
The right atrium is where the CO2 blood enters the heart. To the tricuspid valve, to the right ventricle, the pulmonary artery and lungs. Once inside the lungs, it dumps its carbon dioxide and picks up.
It's a pretty good song. Catchy, right?
Yes.
Kazoo music behind there.
I'm pretty sure Potsy was going to drop out of high school.
Yes.
Yep.
This was before Fonzie jumped the shark.
Yeah. Right.
So that's the song. You never heard before today. You had not
Before today,
heard
no.
it.
No, I had not.
Well, so it got me to thinking. I'm like, so we started talking about, all right, so if the heart is what pumps your blood, how do you take a car and relate the parts of a car to the parts of a human body and go, what's what? And so we started to poll between everybody as to what they thought, like the car's heart was, and some of the answers were very generic, like, oh, the engine is the heart. Well, the engine's like saying the whole thing is your heart. So here's a question for you. So we'll just go around the room. What would everybody say is the heart of your engine? We'll start with the heart. Well, maybe we will wait. What's the feet?
The feet, I guess, would be your tires.
Tires,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I would actually argue the feet would be your wheels and the tires would be the sneakers on the feet.
Well, that's if
Well,
you're
you
getting
have a
particular.
point,
Yeah.
right? I mean, if we're breaking it down that far, sure. Then you have snowshoes and you have
Right.
flip-flops.
There you go,
Exactly.
right, yep. For those people with racing slicks, those would be flip-flops, I would suppose. So, okay, so then after that, you get to, we won't go like legs and stuff like that because that still would probably be the wheels and the tires, but what would be what would be the legs?
Control arms.
I could see that. I got something different. Jody? Shocks. Erin?
I would have to go with control arms too.
So I would say that I'm going to go deeper.
I know where you're going.
I would say shocks are your joints. I would say control arms are your bones, but I would say that the legs are your transmission because that's what makes you move.
Yeah, well, then your transmission would be, I would say, more like your brain. Your brain makes your legs move.
Your brain. Yeah, but your legs are what actually move you, and the transmission is what actually moves you.
That's a way of looking at it.
I'm still going with control arms.
I'm going like, all right, we'd like to hear from you folks. This is actually a good way to get our listeners, which, we really have many, surprisingly. But we need you guys to voice up on Facebook, and we need to know what you guys think the legs are. So go to Universal Imports Facebook page, and Aaron, after this episode, is going to put on there, if you listen to the Valentine's episode, what do you think the different parts of the body are related to parts of a car? So Aaron's going to put that up on Facebook when we're done here, and then we'll see if people listen to the show and what they chime in with. I would say that legs are definitely the transmission. The bones are definitely the control arms, and the shocks are definitely the joints. And I'm hosting the podcast, so we're going with that.
So we're going with what you say. All right. Well, okay.
Okay.
All right. What are the arms?
Great. The front control arms are the arms. The rear control arms are the legs.
All right. Well, here we'll get to some of the easier things. Okay. What would the oil be?
The blood.
Okay.
Okay.
What would the fuel be?
It'd be like the digestive system.
Yeah, I would say it's the food, right?
Right.
Yeah, right. Sure.
So
go with that.
We won't get into gross things like the pee.
Bile.
It is yellowish, kind of. Okay, so then what would be your heart?
Oil pump.
Interesting. Drea, what do you say?
Well, my original thought was the battery.
The battery. Aaron, what do you say?
I thought it would. Well, I guess I didn't know before Jody said it.
Well,
that could even be an option.
I just thought I would do everybody that listens to this podcast as well as everybody here a service.
Thank you.
And I wrote a little song
ahead of time.
I took the inspiration from Potsy on Happy Days, and I came up with my own version of Pump Your Blood called Pump Your Oil. And I recorded it before we just sat down in here to do this podcast. And this is what this is what I think. So I want to ask if you guys can all, when we are playing this, let's clap through it. So, because there's no background music, okay? Mm-hmm. We got to clap in unison. All right, let's see. Let's see how this goes. I wouldn't dare this in front of you. Oil pump is where the process begins, and it goes through the filter, and then it enters the oil galleries of the engine and starts all over again. The oil is the blood that keeps the engine good. It's important to change it now and then, because if you don't, the engine will heat up, and soon you'll be riding a Schwinn. Now, the battery gives electricity, and that is very important, because without it, the fuel and the spark can't ignite, and that's what makes your car go. Now, all of this commotion is creating lots of motion, and gases will start to build up, and carbon monoxide needs some place to go, so the exhaust is kind of like your engine's butt. Well, now we know what makes your car go, but the question is, how do we slow down? It all starts with your brain and your foot, and now I will give you the lowdown. As the pedal's depressed, and I don't mean very sad, fluid is pushed to a valve in the master cylinder, and with the help of a booster through the lines it goes to the wheels. The fluid activates the brake caliper, and it acts like the claws on an arm. It forces the pads against the brake discs, and that's what helps you prevent harm. So now we've covered the importance of oil and the brakes and even dirty jokes about exhaust. But there are still many things that make up your car, and we don't want that to get lost. It's important to keep your car very clean so the metal doesn't start to rust. Most European cars are dipped in zinc, which keeps the metal strong and that you can trust. It's important to keep your car clean so the metal doesn't start to rust. Most European cars are dipped in zinc, which
Double
makes
that
the
one.
metal strong and that you can trust. We hope you like the song. We know it's kind of long. It's important that we give you good reports. If you want your car to last and always have a blast, then bring it to Universal Import. Ta-da!
Well, I don't have to work out on my arms now.
Oy, oy, oy.
That was really good. That was really creative, Mark.
Thank you.
Yes, I have to say that was very good. Very good.
Kind of sounded like Potsy.
Ouch.
I more was always looked at myself more as a Ralph Malf. So Valentine's Day is quickly approaching, and as you may have heard at the beginning of the episode, Aaron read a nice little ad for our Valentine's Day special. We're doing this awesome car detail special where if you get your car detailed, you get this really awesome bouquet of flowers and a 1 pound box of chocolates, and it's really great, and your spouse will love you forever, and we will be making lots of couples happy this holiday season. What do you think, Aaron?
I think it's a good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Valentine's Day for a minute, and then we're gonna rack Jody's brain on some more serious stuff when it comes to your car's organs, if you will. But what do you guys got going? What do you have going on for Valentine's Day this year, Drea?
Oh, geez. Well, there's a question.
Are you going anywhere?
You taking me out to dinner somewhere?
Well, are you going anywhere?
Haven't even planned it. When is Valentine's Day this year? A Friday, I think, right?
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Yeah.
My band is playing at Bar Louie in Greece, New York, next week.
Uh-huh.
Which,
On
by the way-
Valentine's Day?
No, the next day, the 15th.
15th.
Yeah. But
West Ridge Road.
yeah, are you doing something for Valentine's Day, Jody?
Just taking my wife to dinner.
Oh, where are you going to dinner?
Dominic's.
All right.
Can I come?
What about you, Aaron?
I have no idea.
You got nothing?
I got nothing yet. We'll see what Ben plans.
I'm putting you guys all on the spot with different things. What about your coolest thing that you've ever done for someone on Valentine's Day or have had done to you on Valentine's Day? And keep it clean. This is a PG show.
I was going to say I can't say it.
Oh, gosh.
Oh.
You know, I suppose when you're married for a while, I can guarantee you most women probably get mad at their husbands for spending as much as they do on huge bouquets of flowers. I think the longer you're married, you're like, just get me daisies. It's fine.
Oh, I'll tell you what. I came home with flowers once. I don't think it was for Valentine's Day. It was just random because I'm just like that. And my wife...
What a guy.
Yeah. And my wife got mad at me. She's like, how much did you spend on those flowers? Well, that was the wrong thing to say to me because she has not gotten flowers since.
Well, which is why our special is so cool because really, wow, what a practical gift.
I know. You get your car detailed and then you get the flowers and chocolates for free.
There
you
you
can act
go.
like you paid
Exactly.
for
Yep.
them. And
Right.
you could do it any way you want. You can get your spouse's car cleaned up and then give her flowers, him or her flowers and chocolates. Or you could
Just
get your
give the
own car
flowers.
detailed
Yep.
and then use the free chocolates and
Exactly.
flowers for your spouse.
There
We
you go.
won't tell. We'll,
Nope.
Whatever you want, we'll do it for you.
Secret safe with us.
For
Totally.
everybody.
Yeah. I remember one year I don't know what possessed me to do this, but it actually worked out really cool. And my kids, I did it. It was my wife and my kids, and I built like this cool teepee in the living room. And I put a TV in the teepee, and we watched home movies of when the kids were little. And we put like a bunch of pillows in there and blankets and cheese and crackers, and we all sat in this teepee in the living room and watched old
What a cool idea.
Cool.
home
Yeah.
videos. That was really neat. I can't top that one. So
No.
it only goes downhill from there.
I know, right? You got to save your best for, you got to time it right.
I know it's tough to come up with those kinds of things. I can write her a song from Pump Your Blood.
There you go.
There you go. Yep.
So, well, what happens this time of year is, do you guys have any cool Valentine stories? Anything?
Not really.
No,
No.
I don't.
I can't think of any at least.
Nothing.
Nothing.
I remember my husband coming home with one of those huge giant bears. And all I could think of is, where am I supposed to put this? Yeah, I wish I had the teepee idea.
There was a time when the kids were little and we were going to amusement parks a lot with them that I had, for whatever reason, I think I was waiting for them to come off of a ride or something, and right next to the ride was this game where you have to climb a rope a certain way and ring the bell.
Oh, yeah.
This like ladder rope. And they always had these huge, ridiculous
Yeah, that's the kind of bear I'm talking about. Just like it's bigger than you.
So crazy. So I was sitting there and really just talking to the guy that runs the thing, and I was there for a long time, and he opened up to me. He's like, oh yeah, there's a whole secret to this thing and how you walk up this thing, and he showed me, and it must have been like a fairly slow day at least at that game. So he let me do it for free, and he kind of taught, like, there is sort of a trick to it. There's a little bit of skill, but you get it if you get to practice it a couple times. The idea behind those games is you don't really get to practice it, right? You pay $5, you get to do it twice, and that's it.
You're out, right?
So, this guy's walking up it with 2 feet, walking up it backwards. I mean, he's got the whole thing down. So I learned how to do it, and every time we went to the amusement park, I came home with one of these ridiculous bears. And one year it was Animal from the Muppets, and it had this huge animal Muppet head, and I'm like, what am I going to do with this thing? And I was going to throw it out. It's sitting in the basement forever. I cut the head off of it, took the stuffing out.
He doesn't have a problem.
No, I cut the head off, took the stuffing out, and I turned it into a big animal mask. And we set it on top of the bass drum of the band I was in at the time, and it became like our mascot. So we always had this big animal head sitting on top of the.
Nice.
So I repurposed the
Repurposed
animal Muppet. So, kind of where this whole thing started with going down the rabbit hole that we tend to do on this show is the whole pump your blood thing. All actually stemmed from a discussion back in the shop, and that is in February, aside from Valentine's Day and romantic dinners and boxes of chocolate and bouquets of flower, bouquet, whatever. There's an issue with people's cars that we have to look out for in the shop all the time, and a lot of people don't even know it exists, and that is these breather systems. And we get many cars in the month of February, because February can be 40 degrees one day and it can be, 10 degrees the next. And the breather system in these cars, it's in pretty much every car, right, Jody?
Yes.
Obviously we see it a lot in the European cars, but every car has it at this point. If moisture or there's buildup in there, and that's where I always go back to, like, thinking of clogged arteries. Like, if those arteries are clogged, those breather systems don't allow the pressure in the engine to escape, and they can cause havoc. So, Jody, why don't you give a little bit of a rundown on that? This is Jody's first time on the podcast, so.
So how far do you want me to break it down?
Well, break it down.
So the combustion engine has a crankcase, and when the engine's running, burning fuel, and escaping exhaust gases, they're also created in the crankcase. And within exhaust gases is moisture. So that's where you're getting the condensation that you see in the breather systems over a period of time. And so the breather systems, once that moisture continues to clog up with the oil, the breather system starts to fail, usually around the PCV valve, or it can...
PCV as in positive crankcase ventilation.
That's right.
So it actually is just
confused-
like an artery, and it gets gunked up.
Not to be confused with PVC, which is a tube that you buy at Home Depot. This is PCV,
Right.
and it's also not PCP either, which is a whole nother podcast that we can have. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So anyway, it the water congels with the oil, and that's where everything starts getting clogged up. And once it can't breathe, there's too much crankcase pressure. Usually those areas start to clog, the crankcase pressure gets too high, and it starts blowing various oil seals, the front seal, the rear seal, any seal that's, sealed for oil.
So then that winds up giving you an oil leak of some sort, or
Oil leaks, or eventually the PCV system will crash and start having vacuum leaks, and your engine will start running really rough.
Yeah, so there's actually some cars that when you replace the PCV, you also even replace the crank seal.
Yes.
Crank seal.
Audi A4s, they actually have a bulletin for that.
Because the crank seal sucks in or pushes out?
It sucks in. It's a vacuum. It's part of the vacuum system.
So how do you check this? What's the check for it?
Well, one of the simplest checks is to see how much condensation's building up in your engines. Just pull your oil cap, and you'll see a white gunky.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll look like a vanilla milkshake
Yep.
almost.
Yep.
So obviously with your engine off, not when it's running, take your gas cap, your oil cap off rather, and if you see a lot of sort of like white frothy stuff on the cap or inside, right inside the
The rim there
in the valve cover there, that could be a sign of that. Now there is some moisture that is in an engine, and you can get a little bit of that without having a problem.
Yeah, and you could see like a trace of that gunk that we were talking about. But if it's really, really built up, I mean, that's a pretty good sign. Another way or technical way of doing it is to measure crankcase pressure. I mean, and to find out if your breather system is working properly.
So what's like the telltale sign? Will your check engine light come on? Will it just start running rough?
It depends on what stage it's at that point.
Right.
Okay.
So the idea is you don't want to get to the stage of an engine light coming on, or you seeing oil on the ground, or in most cases, when you have oil leaks in these newer cars, you're not going to see oil on the ground a lot of the time. In fact, we so often will tell someone they have an oil leak, and the first thing they will say is, I haven't seen any oil on the ground. And that's because there are big splash shields underneath almost all the newer cars' engines. And so that oil collects in there. Right. But a lot of these oil leaks aren't down. If you have an oil pan leaking, that's going to drip right into that catch pan. And it may eventually, when it's bad enough, roll off and onto the ground. But when you have a timing chain cover seal or a valve cover gasket leaking, that oil has a long way to go before it hits the ground. So it leaks. Right. Makes a mess of the front, the back of the engine, the side of the engine. And, most oil leaks, even really bad ones, aren't going to necessarily decrease the amount of oil that you have in your engine to a point where your oil light's going to come on unless it's a massive oil leak. Right. But what you really want to be worried about when you have any kind of oil leak, even a small one that's just coating anything that's rubber, you have rubber hoses, you have all that stuff, it deteriorates that. It softens it, makes it brittle, all these things. So that's why you don't want to have oil leaks in your engine. Here's where the problem comes in. And this is why it's important that we talk about this stuff, even though it is, it's not the most exciting thing to talk about. But for most of these things like PCV systems, there isn't really... It's not like you're going to come in for service and we're going to say, oh, you're due for your PCV replacement. And this is the problem with car repairs today, is that all the car companies, I think, in order to sell their cars, they somewhat downplay what service you need to do and when, instead of really telling you, listen, this car is great, but you need to do this at this point, and this at this point, and this at this point. And if they did that, I think people would be much better off, but they don't want to do that up front because then it makes it look like the car needs so much stuff. And if every car company would adhere to that rule, then it would be fine, but they wouldn't. So if one car company decided they would do that and really put it out there, listen, yes, your car will run with spark plugs in it that have 100,000 miles on it. But it is not going to run nearly as efficiently as if the spark plugs were replaced every 30 or 40,000 miles.
I agree.
Right?
Yep.
And this is the problem. So people buy a car and they truly feel like there's nobody really authoritatively telling them they need to do this and that. The PCV, by the time you get to 80, 90,000 miles, you should be replacing it even if there isn't a problem.
Right.
But nobody's telling people that. And including us, we don't necessarily want to, tell people they need that when no one else would tell them they need it. So what we try to do when the cars come in for service is we try to take a peek. We can go a little bit deeper. As a technician, Jody, what would you do to look at a PCV system for someone? Let's say someone's coming in for an oil change. They've got 90,000 miles on their car. You see a couple little minor leaks. So now you want to just confirm whether or not the PCV is a potential problem. How would you go about checking that?
Well, you can do it with pressure gauges to see how much crankcase pressure is built up in it. You can pull the oil cap. I could pull it while the engine's running to see how much suction is going through there. At 90,000 miles, I would just recommend replacing it.
Okay, but see, a technician will pull the oil cap with the engine running. I still don't recommend that any normal consumer driving their car take the oil cap off with their engine running for a number of reasons. One is that oil is very hot in there. It can splash out. Two, there is pressure, so it actually is sucking in. So if you drop something in there, you don't have to drop much in.
I don't recommend that either.
Yeah. There's grains of sand that have ruined engines.
Yes.
So that's why you don't want to do that when the engine's running. But a technician can check the actual suction at the oil cap. Mm-hmm. They can also put pressure gauges on, and we can see. Now, a lot of these PCV systems also have updated PCV systems that are. So when they are due for replacement, these car companies have sort of seen some of the errors in the old styles of the PCV systems, and they've updated the ones we would replace with a newer style that is less likely to have the problem. Is that what you see?
Right. And then a lot of them will have software changes to go along with it. When you change the valve, like the Audis, when we change PCV valves and update them, we also update the software because it's changing you can't tell as a driver, but it's changing basically the timing and the way it breathes for this type of new valve. So,
I mean, what's really interesting here is that I would almost go as far as to say that the PCV system's health is more important than some of the other things that most service advisors and technicians will be looking at, like Tune-ups are important for efficiency, but a bad spark plug, for the most part, isn't going to do major damage unless it's completely ignored.
Right.
Especially in this climate up here, PCVs are worse than like down south.
Well, sure, because just look at today. We're in the 30s today. I think we're supposed to be at 0 on Saturday,
Right.
so it's that kind of up and down that's going to do it.
Well, that's what happens if there's any moisture in those tubes, and those tubes are tiny, and then they freeze. It's just like an artery being plugged.
Exactly.
When an artery is plugged, that pressure cannot go through those lines and out and escape. So it builds up.
Yep.
It builds up to a point where we've seen cars where, it literally has pushed seals completely out, like not just pushed them out to where they're leaking, like pushed them out of the car.
Well, it's actually
out of the car and down the road.
We've had toe ends, BMWs especially in the wintertime when going down the expressways where the vehicle just shut off because it hydrolocked because it sucks so much oil into the cylinders.
Right.
So that's due to the PCV system freezing.
Yep. Every car will need its PCV system replaced and updated by the time it hits 100,000 miles, period. It needs to be done. The car manufacturers will not put that in their maintenance books because they don't want it to look like the car's going to require a lot of maintenance.
Right.
None of the car companies do it. That's the same thing with tune-ups. It's so let's take, what doctors do when you go into the doctor's office and they have so many protocols. They know when people are supposed to have this shot and this test and that test, because they take the data and they see that, a male when he's 50 needs to have a colonoscopy. People need to get tested for different types of cancer at certain intervals. People need certain vaccines, all these types of things. They figure it out. The problem with cars is there are so many different car companies, and they're all, yes, they all have engines and transmissions and 4 doors or 2 doors, and they come in a variety of colors, but they are different. So it's very hard to have that exact same sheet of these are the things you need to do. Right. Some cars, it's super important that these things get done like at 50,000 miles, whereas other cars, we never see a problem with it until 100,000 miles.
Right. And you seem to know, you have a good arsenal of knowledge that like you alluded to BMWs. Which car would need it before another car, and
right.
You've seen it enough. So would this problem actually? I know you said we've had tow-ins. How often does something like that really happen? Is this something that could stop you and just
the ones we've had towed in actually stopped on the expressway, stopped running, and had to be towed in. And there for about the last 5 years, I think we had like 2 a year. That catastrophic. So, like you said.
And at that point, when it gets to that, it's a major repair then.
Yeah, then it turns into a major repair instead of the maintenance that Mark's talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really want to try and get this at the maintenance level as opposed to at the solving a problem level.
Right.
So really what I'm not necessarily saying to anybody who's out there listening that they should rush into the shop and right away try to figure out if they need a PCV update or not. But you should give us a call. We can check to see if your PCV's been updated. Right. We can fairly easily, if you come in, we can do a quick check and see if you're due for that. There was a year, I don't remember, it was probably 5 or 6 years ago, where we really put a big push on it because that year we saw so many problems.
Well, let me ask this. Are there any small symptoms that you would feel, hear?
No, once you have a symptom, it's already doing its damage. Right. And like when you have a misfire with a spark plug, you're going to have to get that fixed because you're going to notice a runnability problem right away.
Right.
If you don't, by the way, which some people will go, oh, the car misfires, but then I shut it off, turn it back on, and it's fine. You're not really damaging the engine so much by doing that, but what you are doing is you are potentially plugging up the catalytic converter, that there could be damage to your exhaust system, oxygen sensors. So, when it comes to cars, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure is probably the best saying ever. It is always hard to spend money on maintenance things when you don't physically have a problem yet. You want me to spend $500 or $600 on something when I don't have a problem. But the alternative is when it goes, it could be $1,600 because you are replacing multiple gaskets and seals in the engine.
Exactly.
So just that's just one of those things I thought that we would throw out there. We're going to go to commercial here. And when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit more about Valentine's Day stuff. We're going to get Erin talking a little bit about what she wants to do for Valentine's Day.
Quick, call Ben.
And all that kind of stuff. So we'll be right back.
Mold is the official sponsor of the Grease and Glamour podcast. Established in 1853, Mold has grown to become a recognized leader in lubricant technology. Racing teams around the world have trusted Mold to deliver the endurance and performance needed to compete at the highest level. Even if you're not racing on the track, Mold full range of synthetic lubricants will protect your engine against wear and tear of your daily commute. Stop by Universal Imports to purchase Mold line of products today.
car repairs can get expensive. That's why Universal Imports has got you covered with their exclusive Car Care Club. For an annual investment of just $49, you can save hundreds with a free New York State inspection, $10 off oil changes, 10% off labor, $50 off alignments, and so much more. Visit universalimports.com or visit 834 Linden Avenue, right off 441.
Let my family take care of your family's automobiles. Visit universalimports.com to join our Car Care Club today.
Okay, so we didn't get to it before, but I wanted to bring it up. So the Super Bowl was just recently, obviously. Yep. Did you guys all watch it?
Yep.
Did watch it.
What did you think?
I got to tell you. Come on.
Yeah, I'm with you. Go Chiefs. Oh, my sister just likes the 49ers because
hey, I am going to be the first to admit
Garoppolo?
it. Yes, he is good looking.
I know.
And I can say that because I'm the only single one in the room.
He came from the Patriots, though. So
whenever
there's
I
some
hear
ties
his
there.
last
I
name,
know,
though,
Aaron,
I think
please.
whenever I hear his last name, I think of that Family Guy episode where they say there's this new TV show with Janine Garofalo and Mark Ruffalo called Ruffalo. I was looking for the Chiefs to take the win because it had been like 50 years since they
Right. I'll say that
Won
much.
that.
I mean, it's nice that they won before that.
and that's I was a big 49ers fan back in this when Steve Young was their quarterback. I mean, when of course, everybody liked the 49ers when Joe Montana was except for Jody.
Except for Jody.
I love Joe
Marino.
Montana.
He's over here shivering.
I loved Steve Young. He was awesome. But it was Patrick Mahomes, man. He seems like such a cool guy.
Yeah.
He's a young guy, and he's really
Yeah, I
doing
love
great.
seeing these young athletes just making it. And they're humble. I love the fact
Yeah.
that they're humble about it.
Yeah.
I wanted to see it for Andy Reid more than anything.
What? Oh, yeah.
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 Well, the one thing I didn't really care for was I'm not Sammy Watkins' biggest fan anymore. Being being a Bills fan.
He had some things to say.
I like him better now.
All right, Jody.
What about the ads? Did you guys have any favorite ads?
Oh, yes, for sure. The Self Park. The
The pocket
the
car.
pocket car.
You didn't like the Dorito? Was it the Dorito commercial with the guy on the horse and Sam Elliott?
I didn't see that
The guy
one.
from like the Old Town Road. Yeah.
Yeah.
saw
I
that
didn't
one.
see it.
Yeah.
Sam Elliott's mustache.
Yeah.
Kind of,
Oh, here's this one. Let's see.
How are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
He's not getting that car in there.
oh yeah.
Look at these two troublemakers.
Hey, Johnny, how are you?
Wicked car. Is that new?
Yeah, it's a Sonata. Let me pack it.
Oh, you're
Let
not
me
thinking
pack
car-
it.
Let me pocket.
Stop being a smarty pants, all right?
Hey, Aaron, stop being a smarty pants.
Smart pack.
Smart pack.
Just hit the clicker. Car packs itself.
That's smart.
It's wicked smart. And I can pack it anywhere.
How about Dorchester?
Packed it.
Foxborough.
Packed it.
The garden?
Packed it.
Saugus.
The garden.
Revere.
The harbor?
Are you
The harbor?
I packed it and then unpacked it.
You unparked it?
Kid.
That's a good one. Smart
Park.
pack.
Smart park.
That was a good one.
I'd really like to just talk like that for a day.
Really?
Yeah, it'd be fun.
I'm more of I like the Long Island
A quarter
a quarter.
for a glass of water.
Hot dog. Hot dog and a hamburger. Something like that.
I want my Jersey accent back.
Well, Jody still got his Virginia
Yeah.
accent.
Yeah, he does.
I can't get rid of that.
Is that a Virginia accent or a West Virginia accent?
No, it's Virginia.
Accent.
There's a difference between West Virginia and Virginia.
My, my favorite ad was the Bill Murray, the Jeep ad.
Oh, the Groundhog Day?
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
one's good.
That was a good one. I like that.
Gotta say, I like that groundhog this year.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't want to, we can't get political.
Oh, please don't. There's enough of that around.
There is going to be a robotic animatronic groundhog
Yeah,
as
one
of
day.
next year, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't blame him. Let that poor guy sleep. We always wake him up and he's like, what the heck?
I know,
Yeah,
right?
leave me alone. I'm
Leave me
scared of
alone. I'll
everything.
give you spring this year. Just leave me alone.
Oh, and they said that the groundhog is 40% right.
So why do we listen?
So
right.
that
I know.
means that that means whatever he says, the opposite is actually more likely true. If he's
Oh, yeah, that's true.
if he's 40% right, that means that he's 60% I don't know.
But I think
Wrong.
We all just feel better when he says, in
I
early
know,
spring.
we're
It
like,
just makes us
"Ooh,
feel
get the
so much
shorts
better
out."
up here. Yeah.
I did like the so notably last year's Super Bowl, I noticed, interestingly, from a car perspective, is almost every car company went on there to tout their electric car
Yeah. Yeah.
progress.
Yep.
And I only saw one car company talk about electric cars in the Super Bowl, and it wasn't even a car company that most would expect. Do you know who it was?
Was it Ford?
Well, I mean, they may have had one too, but the one I'm thinking of wasn't. It was Porsche.
Yes, that's right. I did see it.
I didn't.
Mhm.
It was the
I missed
Porsche
it.
commercial. Yep.
Well, Audi had the e-tron ad with the girl from Game of Thrones. They're singing "Let It Go." Did you
Oh,
did you see
really?
that one?
No.
Yeah.
Where
But it
was I? I swear I watched the whole thing.
So it was towards the end.
Oh,
So,
bathroom break. I don't know.
She's in the car. She's driving, and she's singing "Let It Go." And there's like all of these things like on the side, letting go of like all these pollutants and stuff like that. So
That's cool.
yeah.
So what was your
I don't
least
remember
favorite
that
one?
either, though.
I think the Winona one.
So one of the pet peeves that I have among many are the how people say, because we were just talking about Porsche, and many people don't say Porsche, they say
Right.
Porsche.
Right.
Many people don't say Audi, they say Audi, which I'm okay with. If you want to buy one from us, we'll call it whatever you want. But in truth, the real name is Audi.
Right.
And there was a guy that, and this was great. There was this guy that was on YouTube, and he is a young German guy.
Oh, I
And he
know
went on
exactly where you're
YouTube
going.
to show people how to pronounce all the German cars properly. So I'm going to play this for you.
Today I am going to show you how to pronounce German car names. I have heard a lot of people pronounce the car names incorrectly, and it makes me very angry. So for this, I'm going to teach you how to pronounce the car names correctly now. But first I must eat a Lebkuchen. So, the first wrong car name, so many people say Audi, when it's actually pronounced Audi. Say it with me. Audi. Very easy.
practice.
Next, BMW. In German, you say BMW. Stands for Bayerische Motorwerke. Yeah, it is not a funny term. It's not to make go and fun, laugh, ha ha ha. Okay, in English, this means Bayerische Motorwerks. Very accurate name. More Lebkuchen. Delicious, I'm enjoying it. Next, Mercedes-Benz. Ah, this makes me sick. I'm going to have to open a beer. The name is pronounced Mercedes-Benz. Now we get to one that really makes me very angry. I hear the name Porsche a lot. I will say this only once. In Germany, we say Porsche. Good, and don't get this wrong again. Here's a toast to Porsche.
Here's a toast to Porsche.
Fun fact, this is not beer, this is Pipi-Wasser, because it is Swiss. Now we have one for all the pre-teen, 16-year-old
I think he was drinking a Coors.
You say Opel. We say Opel. Like jeder Popel fährt einen Opel. This means every booger drives an Opel. I'm going to get to the last one. You say VW. In Germany, we say VW. Get it right! This stands for Volkswagen, and it means the car of the people. Hello, here's a bonus clip for you. I have seen lots of people have difficulty saying this name.
We got the Koenigsegg, Swedish Koenigsegg's. Koenigsegg's.
It is pronounced Koenigsegg. You're welcome. Good night.
I would really like to have that guy on the show.
No kidding, right? We've been schooled.
That's funny.
We used to have a guy who worked with us a long, long time ago. How did he say Mitsubishi?
Mitsubishi, like Gary Busey.
Yeah.
He always said Mitsubishi.
It's abuse.
And all I could ever think of was Gary Busey,
Yep.
the actor. So
Well, I will say that there was one Google ad that made me cry. Did you see the Google?
That was like,
Oh, it wasn't the place for it. The Super Bowl was
it
not the
terrible.
place for it.
Ben had gone to the bathroom. He comes back. I'm like crying.
He's like, what
happened in the game?
It was
like nothing.
super sad. Holy, that's their whole thing now. That's kind of their whole marketing platform. I mean, it's cool stuff.
Yeah.
But that was sad.
It really was.
Holy moly.
Yeah. That brought you down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Big time.
It's like I can't talk right now.
But it's got everyone talking, so it's got to be. It's got to work.
That's the thing.
Yep.
It's whatever gets everybody talking. Which, by the way, 2-3 weeks ago. So, all right, real quick. Universal Imports of Rochester, right? This is what this podcast is all about. We do this podcast, the Grease and Glamour podcast, now in our I'm going to just go out there and say 30th episode.
We can say 30-something now.
Yeah.
30-something.
We did 20-something
we go from
20-something for about
30-something,
3
sure.
months. But so, now we're at 30-something. Our listenership is really growing quite a bit. Really happy for that. We're seeing big numbers. Go back and check out some of our previous episodes that are not that old, but we talked to Mario Andretti in December. That was awesome. After that, we had some sheriff's deputies in from Monroe County, and they helped us sort of talk about some of the different auto theft crimes that are going on, some of the internet crimes. That was a really eye-opening episode. Pretty scary. I mean, we actually talked about a guy who got scammed online, bought a car, wired money to somebody, and he's out the money. He does not.
The car does not exist.
The car doesn't exist. No one bails him out of the situation. I mean, that he spent $30,000 that he is never getting back and does not have a car to show for it. He doesn't even have anybody to go after because those criminals are probably in a different country.
Yeah.
So that was a really good episode. And then just 2 weeks ago, we had my friend Jeff Tyzik in, who is a Grammy Award winner.
Another favorite of mine was when you had Kevin Williams, the weatherman, on here, and he talked about forensic science with automobile accidents, and I mean, it's crazy.
So Kevin Williams, when I first met him, and we had become friends, I was actually down at the auction and having to come back up to Rochester. It was middle of winter. There was a threat of a snowstorm. This was before having iPhones to where we could pull up 25 different weather apps and see what's going on. We literally had to we didn't know. And if you were in Pennsylvania, you weren't going to get Rochester's weather report unless you called home and said to someone up there, hey, what's the weather going to be?
Yeah.
Do you guys remember those days? I mean, they're really not that long ago, but it just seems like forever ago.
Right.
And so I actually called Kevin Williams, and I'm like, and he was in the newsroom at the time, and I'm like, hey, Kevin, I hate to bother you, man, but I need to figure out whether I'm driving back to Rochester or not. So, he gave me the weather report over the phone, and he did it as if he was like on the news. I mean, it was like, well, the front's coming out of the west, and it was great. I'm like, and the whole way home, I'm like, wow.
So here's the question: did you come back home that day?
I did. Geez, I don't remember anymore. For the sake of the conversation, we'll say I did. But that was cool. I remember that. He's a really awesome guy. So we've had some really great guests on, Interstate Battery, all this stuff. But we do this podcast really to brand Universal Imports of Rochester. UniversalImports.com is where you can go on the web to see what we're all about. We're a family business. My sister and I, my mother, my father started this company with my mom back in the 80s. Jody's been with us for
10 years.
10 years. Feels like 30.
At least. Love you, Jody.
Yeah, you're supposed to say it seems like just yesterday, but it's like, feels like forever.
Jody's my buddy.
Yeah. And, and Aaron and I work very closely together on finding people the cars they want. So our business is 1/3 finding you the best next car, 1/3 fixing your awesome car, and 1/3 doing all the body work and collision work on your car. So we really are all encompassing. We do everything here.
And I want to add too that this podcast really shows you our true colors too, because I don't think there's a customer that wouldn't agree that they get the funny side of us, the serious side of us. You know, I mean, we know our stuff.
Yeah,
but
how else
we
are we
still
gonna...
will sing "Pump Your Blood"?
Yeah.
Right,
You know,
I will still neglect my real work to write the lyrics to a song "Pump Your Blood." And when employees come to my office and go, "I'm busy. Can't you see I'm busy?"
Yeah, I think that's happened twice today for me.
And as they turn around and walk down the hall, they hear me singing "Pump, pump, 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 pump."
What exactly is Mark doing in his office?
Mark, I need to show you this engine. And I'm hearing the song now.
Can't you see that I'm busy? But
anyway, it's, you know, I mean, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I think this is a great place to come. You know, you just get the best of everything.
Well, it's a great place. It's a great place for me because we have these awesome employees here that have been with us a long time. We have 20 people. They've all been here a long time. And we have the best customers on the planet. And now we can say we have the best listeners on this podcast because podcasting is just doing nothing but growing. I mean, it's I did a lot of studies on podcasting where it is. There are a lot of podcasts out there, but there's still so many more to come. And there's still half of the population in this country don't even know what a podcast is. That means, from a positive point of view, that means that there's 50% of the people that are still going to get to enjoy a podcast for the first time coming soon. All the big news networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, they all have podcasts for their nightly news, their morning news. It's a great source to get your news. And then, you know, I think about when we talk about something like PCV. I mean, there's a lot of people that could care less.
Yep.
And I get it. But they may never get someone that will explain that to them unless they're explaining it to them when they're having a problem.
Right.
So we want to also, as we're doing this podcast, we're also trying to find these like cool things that we can do
Share
for our
the knowledge.
listeners. Yeah,
Sure.
right. Like, and please feel free, listeners, to email us, mark@universalimports.com, or Facebook us, message us, whatever, WhatsApp. I'm pretty much around everywhere. Let us know what you want to hear. I was thinking, like, having Jody on, we have like a technician moment, or technician time, or whatever we want to call it, where we'll pick something. Like this week it was PCV. Next week,
throw us some questions. We'll be happy to answer them.
Right. And then we're always trying to, dress it up in something that's a little more entertaining. So it's not all just about, Jody droning on about PCV systems. See, this is what I have to listen to when I go out in the shop. So, so this is what we're all about. The Universal Imports of Rochester is about creating awareness about your car, being the place that does everything for you with your car, as well as provide you with a podcast to give you information about your car. And some really exciting stuff that's coming up. When we talked to, months and months ago, Motul Motor Oils, which is lubricants, which is the company we use for all of our oil, because they are a fully synthetic motor oil. They're a French company. They work great with all the European cars. They are like a very highly engineered lubricant company, and they, we partnered with them. They wanted to partner with the podcast, so they are our sponsors. Motul Motor Oils is awesome. They really are there for us. I mean, we can talk to their engineers when we need to. It's the best oil on the planet. It really is, and that's what we're putting in people's cars. Whereas other shops are trying to find the cheaper way to get out of an oil change, we're trying to find the best way to do your oil change. And now we're forming we've been a Carfax dealer forever. For 20 years, we've been providing Carfax vehicle history reports to our customers. And I'm proud to announce today that in the coming weeks, we're going to be having an episode with Emily Voss from Carfax, which I'm very excited about. Emily is a super nice person who said she would love to come on the show and talk about all the exciting things that are happening at Carfax, because guess what? As technology, gets better and better, and reporting from repair shops, police departments, insurance companies get more accurate and better, these Carfax reports are going to be more chock full of information, and Carfax as a company has been doing a great job of putting that all together so that when you buy a pre-owned car, you know what you're getting. And at the price of what new cars are now, it just keeps, in my opinion, it just keeps reinforcing why looking at a pre-owned car is a very good solution for people. Even people that had never bought pre-owned and had always bought new might want to start looking at buying pre-owned when they're facing a $70,000 new car that they can buy that same car a few years old for $30,000.
Right.
So that's what this podcast is about. We try to make it fun. We try to put some information in there that you can really take away, as well as hopefully get a chuckle. Hopefully you liked my Pump Your Blood song.
It was great.
That I'm never singing it again. That was it.
I'll be singing it all night.
Well, here, I can give you a manuscript of the lyrics.
I'll just make them up.
And don't forget about this awesome car detail special that we've got. This thing is really great. $299. It's not just like a wash and a wax. I mean, this is our detail department is second to none. They'll buff out scratches. They're going to put like this really great glaze on the car that's make it super shiny. They're going to shampoo the interior, the headliner. They're going to polish everything. They're going to tire shine the tires. They're going to clean the wheels to perfection. They're going to spend on average about 5.5 hours on your car. And then you're going to get a bouquet of flowers and a box of chocolates to take home. That's just that to me sounds pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like you're getting flowers and chocolates, honey.
And I'm getting a clean car. Well, everybody, I'm going to now start the outro music, which means that this show is coming to an end. But this outro music always lasts way longer than I anticipated to.
You should have started it 2 minutes ago.
But I can adjust it in post. Which one of our listeners says, you always say you're going to edit things out, and then you never edit them out because I still hear you saying I'm going to edit this out. But
it's original.
It's a character, yeah.
In a couple weeks, we're going to be talking to Carfax. I'm super excited for that because there is a lot to talk about when it comes to how they figure out what a vehicle's history is and how they present it to the consumer in such a convenient, easy way to read. It's a great company. I'm proud that we've been with Carfax for so long, and now I'm really happy that we're going to be talking to them. So until next time, I'm Mark.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Andrea.
And I'm Jody.
And we're here for you at universalimports.com and the Grease and Glamour podcast. Tell a friend about it. Let's grow this baby. Thank you.
Stay safe, everyone.
Yes. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
See what I mean? This music just keeps going.